In a village kissed by the sun, where the earth glowed red and gold beneath endless skies, a child was born beneath an ordinary morning. But she was not ordinary. When the first beam of sunlight slipped through the window and touched her hair, it did not darken like the soil or warm like the clay walls around her. It shimmered, soft, luminous, white as moonlight, and in that shimmer, the whispers began. She grew beneath careful glances and cautious silence. The village was bright with color, woven fabrics of crimson and saffron, baskets of green leaves and orange fruit. Yet when she walked through the marketplace, something invisible seemed to dim. Conversations quieted, laughter softened, eyes turned away. No one shouted, no one pushed her aside. They simply stepped back, gently, daily, consistently enough to remind her that she did not belong in the same way as the others. One afternoon, a small woven ball rolled to her feet. She picked it up, brushing the dust from its surface. Before she could return it, a mother rushed forward, pulling her son close as though Zahara's touch carried heat. Zahara said nothing. She rarely did, but questions have weight, and hers grew heavier with each passing year. One evening, beneath a sky painted in fire and fading gold, she sat beside the only person who never turned away from her, Babu Kojo. "Why is my hair the color of the moon?" she asked softly, "when everyone else is the color of the earth." Babu's weathered face creased into a gentle smile. The wind moved slowly through the tall grass around them. "Because, little moon," he said, "the moon guides us when the sun grows too tired to shine." She looked up at the rising dusk, at the first star trembling into view, and for the first time she wondered if different meant necessary. Then the rains forgot the village. The green faded first, leaves curled inward. Crops bent and withered. The river that once laughed against its banks thinned into silence. The soil cracked like broken pottery beneath relentless heat. Even the flowers bowed their heads as if ashamed they could no longer bloom. The sun did not grow tired. It grew cruel. Fear is a loud thing. It searches for reasons. It needs a name, a shape, a place to rest its blame. So beneath the firelight, when shadows grew long and restless, the villagers gathered. Their voices trembled between anger and desperation. And when their eyes searched for something different, something unfamiliar, they found it standing quietly among them. They did not point at the sky. They did not question the earth. They looked at the girl whose hair carried the color of night. Zahara stood still while words rose around her like sparks from the flames. She searched the crowd for Babu. His eyes held sorrow and something else, worry, helplessness. A single tear slipped down her cheek. It fell to the cracked ground. The earth swallowed it instantly. And in that silence, Zahara made a choice. If she could not belong, she would become something greater than belonging. Before the sun rose, before the village stirred from uneasy sleep, she walked beyond its borders. The wilderness did not turn away. The wind did not whisper behind her back. The stars did not stare. They simply existed beside her. Beneath the moon, her hair did not look strange. It looked like light. She walked for hours across sand and stone. The night air cooled her skin. Small creatures watched her pass with quiet curiosity. For the first time in her life, no one flinched. Then the storm came. The wind roared without mercy. Sand clawed at her arms and stung her eyes. The sky disappeared behind a veil of swirling dust. She wrapped her cloth around her face and pressed forward, but the world dissolved into chaos. Doubt crept in with the wind. She dropped to her knees beside a towering rock formation and closed her eyes. "The earth speaks," Babu had once told her, "if you are quiet enough to listen." So she listened. Beyond the howl of the storm, beyond her own racing breath, she felt it. A low vibration beneath her palms, a pulse, steady, ancient. She followed it. When the storm finally loosened its grip, she stood before a wall of stone carved by time, and there, almost hidden within its surface, was a narrow opening shaped like a crescent moon. An invitation. She stepped inside. Darkness welcomed her first, then light answered. Massive crystals rose around her, towering and translucent. Her white hair caught the faint glow within the cavern and scattered it into rainbows that danced along the walls. Color bloomed where darkness had lived. She moved deeper until she found it. A lake, still as breath, glowing turquoise from within the earth itself. She knelt at its edge. For the first time in her life, she saw herself clearly, reflected not in judgment, not in fear, but in light. Her hair framed her face like a crown, and she smiled. She filled Babu's empty gourd with the glowing water. As it rose within the carved wood, it shone like a lantern in her hands. Hope does not arrive loudly. It glows quietly until someone is brave enough to carry it home. When she returned, the village was preparing for its final goodbye. The last well was being sealed. Boards hammered into place. Dust hung heavy in the air. Then a new light cut through the dying sun. Zahara walked into the square and lifted the glowing gourd high above her head. No speech, no accusation, just light. One by one, the villagers turned. The golden dust around them shimmered with turquoise reflection. Eyes widened, hands stilled. She led them beyond the borders they once feared she would cross alone, into the cavern. When they saw the lake, they did not see a curse. They saw life. Children rushed forward, laughter spilling from lips that had forgotten its sound. Faces once hardened by fear softened in wonder. Even those who had spoken the loudest against her fell silent first. Stone can hold back many things, but not destiny. When the wall gave way and water surged outward into sunlight, it was not destruction, it was release. The stream burst into the open air, scattering mist and rainbows across the valley. Children ran through the spray. Elders wept openly. The earth drank deeply. Green returned. The village bloomed. Water wound through new channels carved by grateful hands. Crops rose tall. Laughter echoed again across the square. And on a hill overlooking it all stood the girl who once walked away alone. Her hair moved gently in the breeze, luminous against the golden sky. The sun dipped low on one horizon as the moon rose quietly on the other. She was no longer the question whispered in fear. She was the answer carried in light. For sometimes, the very thing that sets us apart is the very thing that saves us. And beneath the sun and beside the moon, Zahara finally understood. She had never been different from the earth. She had always been its guide.